done. We're gonna move ahead and move the public hearing for motor castings. We're gonna do that first. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on the motor castings request for a 5-year extension on their noise variance?
I don't understand between the 3 and the 5 year. It was 3 before, wasn't it?
Correct. We're just making it 5. So,
Well, I was just talking to one of the neighbors. He kind of wanted to know he can't make it because he has to pick up his wife at 6 downtown, so he couldn't make it tonight. But he said he did talk to Vince
Okay.
about it. So he said he just wanted to know the reason why they want to extend it.
well, they only went for 3 years, so we're just extending it 5 now, this time instead of the 3. Just because there's been no problems and they've been cooperating 100% and have no complaints for, I think, the entire 3 years. Do you have anything that you you want to say? No, you're. Oh.
We've been talking, and please, don't hesitate, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, we do want to be good neighbors, okay?
Mhm.
3 or 5 years in the scope of things, you know, I mean, it doesn't matter to me a
Right.
lot, okay? I mean, we're gonna work hard, you know.
Right.
We got business to run, we're gonna try and do it, we're really trying to be sensitive to our neighbors. I would hope, you know, from time to time Vince does call me if
Mhm.
there's an issue, and usually, you know, we get right at it. And things happen, you have employees, the plant has somebody in it all the time, so there are things that do happen, and from time to time, employees, you know, my shift is from 11 o'clock at night until 7 in the morning, and I forget that other people like to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
But-
okay, and they need to be reminded, you know, so.
But I think the variance though was mainly on equipment. It wasn't on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
trucks coming in and everything. It was
Yeah.
basically, I mean, it obviously encompasses everything, but it was mainly focused on the equipment that was making the noise, and to the extensive cost to upgrade all the equipment, and that's why we're giving the variance. So, did you have anything else to add? No questions? Does anybody else have anything to add on the motor casting public hearing? Okay.
I don't. The only position I have is that it's fine having a 5-year thing. In fact, I think that's the right call, considering they've been doing everything they can. But by our ordinance, there needs to be some finding that this is the right call. It says can be exceeding 2 years. In exceptional cases, we've had basically a trial run here, so there probably should be a finding that, based on everything at this point, everything that we've been aware of, there's no complaints for the last 3 years. They've spent time and money, and that we can extend it to the 5-year variance.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, call the hearing closed. And is any of the, all the persons have any comments?
Mr. Chair, I would just add, if I could, I guess I don't know how loud it is at night, but I've been by there during the day quite a bit, and it seemed very quiet to me. Actually, today I walked up and down the street, up and down the alley, and the block over, and I don't think I even heard that pulsing sound that I remember it having been in the past. I don't know if they were working at full capacity today. I know it doesn't go continuously, but it seemed to me that it wasn't annoying, even at the daytime. So nighttime would be quieter than even what was happening during the day. So.
Okay.
Southwest wind
Does anybody
is not quiet.
Does anybody else have anything?
So,
Okay, so then do I have a motion to approve this?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, given, as Assistant City Attorney Serwin said, the findings, I echo those exact findings that he indicated, making a 5-year extension appropriate, and I move for approval of the 5-year extension.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Then we're gonna go on to Justin Fernandez. Come on. Come on front, please.
What number is this?
Now we're on number 2.
Number 2.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right here, please.
Yeah, have a seat here, please. Okay, do you know why you were called here?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And it's a formality if you were cited or, you know, that you didn't have it, you know, a licensed bartender in there that you have to turn in front of us and
Okay.
basically explain to us why.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I had left to run an errand, but yeah, we, don't have any other people that were licensed. We do have a waitress that is licensed now, or that we found out is licensed. I have 4 other people now that I've requested that they go through the process, and they've taken their, the online test, they've paid their fee, and they're waiting for the background check. I guess it's a 2 to 4 week, process, but I do have 4 people that are going through that process right now.
Okay. So it pretty much solved the problem then.
Right.
There'll always be someone there. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move we place on file. But I think I,
Do I have a second? For more, any more discussion?
Second for discussion.
Okay.
I would just like to point
the
out that, here's their record,
blank,
nothing,
that's good.
and then here's like the others that are coming before us, so, thank you for
Okay.
being good.
You're welcome.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Please
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Jason Pulowski. Okay, and you know why you're here.
Same thing?
Yes.
No, this is a fight.
Well, there was a fight, but
Yeah.
the police came there and then, when people were gone already and there was,
Oh, yeah, no,
they didn't have a licensed bartender.
I wasn't aware of it, and I suspended her until she got her license, which was, she just sent me a picture yesterday.
Okay. But you're aware that you have to have a licensed bartender?
Oh, everybody's required to have a license that works there.
Okay.
She had one, she let it expire. You know, I can't speak for her, but she was suspended until, until she showed me that she had a valid license.
Okay. Do we have a motion on this?
move to place on file, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
That's like I was
Christina Lopez.
She called me, she's not gonna appear tonight. First non-appearance.
But she did call, say she can't make it?
She did call, yes.
Okay.
Uncle Ned's was issued his license today. I don't believe he was going to appear if he had his license issued.
Okay.
No, I was saying, okay,
Okay,
said okay too loud.
There was
Yes.
just, there was a hang up on that one for, getting the right to premises. He had thought he provided us the newest lease and we didn't have it, so we just,
but now he has.
we have it, yeah.
Alright.
Okay, so,
On Uncle Ned's, I'll move to place on file. That's item number 5.
Second.
get that to Lassie a little quicker.
Sorry.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Kevin Nugent. Okay, this is for 6 and 7. Okay, you're here because of the building inspection
Yes,
department.
yeah.
So where are we with this?
I talked to Ed earlier this afternoon after calling him a couple times. In July, I had the range that's downstairs. This is all about the gun range. I had it inspected. I had a project that I started back in 2.5 years ago, and the guy has just now delivered the equipment for my gun range in the back, the new building. And I told Ed, I said, the guy was real honest with me, told me he didn't have the money. And I asked Ed what my options are. I mean, I'm not gonna sue the guy because I'm just gonna be on his bankruptcy. So, I'm hoping that he actually comes through, and I'm actually trying to negotiate where I'll just pay the guys to do the job to get it finished. But I asked him, I said, can I just make the building a storage building or whatever? I mean, I'll just lose all the money I put into the building. So that's kind of where we're at right now. He did, in the last month and a half, almost 2 months, delivered all the equipment. So I have the air makeup system, I have the air conditioning and all that in the building. I just don't have it installed. You know, I have a copy of the contract that I have with him. You know, unfortunately, I paid him 2/3 down, so you know, it's just going to be a heck of a loss, especially if I have to make it a storage building.
So you did talk to Ed, and you're working with Ed on this?
Yes, I
So
talked with
what
him this
kind of-
afternoon.
What kind of timetable are we talking before we get some kind of?
Well, I mean, all the guys got to do is put the air makeup system in, and you know, the AC system, you know, the ventilation system in, and I can have it buttoned up, you know, just standard 90 days, 120 days. But I got to get the guy to show up. Everything, which was surprising because I talked with Ed today, everything is done for roughing, but nothing's been inspected,
Right.
and I have no idea why. And he was going to look into that.
Now, the contractor calls for the inspection?
Yeah, well, the plumber was Milwaukee Plumbing, and all the people who did the work called in, and I'm not sure why I have no inspections. Because I even called Bob Johnson. I said, well, Bob, you know, I explained my situation, and he said, well, I don't know. I haven't even inspected the roof. I said, how's it possible? The building's been waiting for the ventilation system for almost 2 years.
Okay. Do we just want to hold? Oh, go ahead, Nick.
And I believe Scott had talked to Ed about this as well, and the way the ordinance is written is it needs to be a shooting shop or a gun gallery, shooting range needs to be approved by both building inspection and the police department. Now, I should have a little discussion with you as well, maybe after the meeting, or I'll call you tomorrow, but that's why Ed had written the letters, because he can't approve it as is without the permits being done, and as far as I'm aware, the permits were for an updated shooting gallery, correct? Or
No,
No.
I have a shooting gallery downstairs.
Right.
This is a new one.
okay, this is gonna be a new one, but are you applying for a license on the new one or the old one then?
Well, no, the old one, he said, was just kind of continuing.
Okay,
I had talked with Ed a couple years ago, and they really don't have the capabilities of inspecting a range.
right,
So I had a company come and inspect the range and tell what to see if I sent this to him in July. He can't seem to find it, so I'm gonna send it. You know, have my girl hand deliver it to him tomorrow. But
is that an NRA, I know you talked probably with Jenna as well, but an NRA range safety officer inspector?
no, this is an actual manufacturer of range. It's called Patriot Range Technology.
Great, okay,
They're a government agency. They do government work and stuff like that. These are the people who inspected it. They'll tell you what the CFM and stuff is. So he said that they just kind of approved my range,
Okay.
and he wasn't sure why it was here, except for the fact that I knew it was because my building's not done. I mean, it's been 2.5, almost 3 years.
Go ahead, Nick.
so this application for the renewal is for the range that's
That's
currently
currently in
functioning.
use.
Okay,
Yes.
as opposed to any of the new business or any of the new stuff, correct?
The new stuff is not even on the.
Okay,
As far as I know, it has nothing because there's nothing in there.
okay, and so the premises that on your application isn't the new place, it's the
Old
old
place.
place. Okay,
Exactly.
good. I just don't wanna make sure, I wanna make sure we're not having a shooting gallery approval for a place that's not finished.
Yeah. No, this
So-
is just for the basement.
So basically, then he's going to have 2 different licenses if he gets the other one all done?
Depends how the premises is defined. But the way my understanding is right now is this license, or this application, is gonna be for the old premises as
That is
opposed to the
correct.
new premises.
Right.
If in subsequent years, or there needs to be an amendment, he can come back in and apply and say, okay, I'm asking to expand my premises for this shooting range to include these addresses, or this is my premises, or apply for 2 essentially essential premises. And-
Well, when I did this a few years ago, that's how it was explained to me, that I would have the one range, but they would both be on that.
Okay.
That's what they said.
Right.
They'll both be on the one license?
one
On one license, because I just actually handed in my license for 18 today, or yesterday I handed it in, and because he said they have no capability of inspecting my range. So, you know, of course I have my range inspected all the time. So what I do is I'll hire a company every year just to have it inspected, and I'll make sure they get a copy of it. Because, and he even said to me, he has no reason why the building inspection department is inspecting a gun range when they have nobody qualified to inspect a gun range.
But aren't they inspecting,
The construction of it.
yeah, all the stuff they should have done, you said you had plumber and stuff.
Oh,
Should've
no,
had the
they're doing
plumbing
that on the
inspector.
new one, yeah,
Right.
but I'm saying that
On the old one.
the
Yeah.
old range is just, or gun
It's been there.
It's been there, it's been there for
Well, where-
60 years.
Mr. Chair. And none of this construction is affecting your downstairs range and
Not
your
at all.
existing range.
Not at all.
So the open permit really relates only to the new construction in
Exactly.
the back, but because it's all being permitted as one premises, technically that's
That's what
what's
triggered.
holding up.
Exactly.
So if maybe 2.5 years ago you would have split it off separately, wouldn't have any problems at all, or we wouldn't be having a problem because your contractors haven't touched your downstairs range at all.
Not
This is
at
all about and
All about the outside.
all about the.
And the new building is not, it's not connected to
No,
Shooters.
it's a
It
separate building.
touches.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
separate building, but it's not a separate address. So it is part of 2465 South 84th Street.
Okay.
So it wasn't done as an entity, it was done as an overflow for shooting.
Right,
And
and,
things of
but, so our inspectors would inspect the intent, cause it's new
Yes.
construction.
They
They
inspected.
inspected the, everything, electrical, plumbing, and
Yes.
all that, but it's just the only part of it is the range part of it, the special use of it, so.
Exactly.
I don't know why we're,
Okay, so this, I got the 2017 license here.
Mhm.
Which is only good for another month.
Another month.
It's just never been issued, is that why?
Correct.
And it's,
Because Ed and.
cause there's
they-
open
Right,
permits on the
right,
address.
They can't approve it by our ordinance, we can't
Yeah.
approve it, the way it's written.
okay.
So one of our options could
Well-
be, I rewrite it as fast as possible, because this is gonna go through, 2018 needs to be
Mhm.
coming up.
Yeah, and
So we've just been holding this application for this, all this time?
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's okay, we do
Another
that with
option-
liquor licenses, I know that.
Right,
Yeah.
another option may be to get some clarification on what the premises is, so that the address, which encompasses both locations, although only one is going to be used at this point, if there could be an update to say the range is only gonna be, or firing will only be occurring in the basement range, until you come back and say, okay, this is all cleared and you've got it approved, or something along those lines.
Well-
I think, at least the city attorney's office, and I can't speak for the body, but would be concerned about approving a whole premises when only part of it is safe
But-
enough to do so.
Right, cause if we approve this,
They could start
tech,
shooting.
they can go on either range, you know, and until we have it said. I'm gonna hold both of these, I think, until there is some clarification. Are you gonna talk to Ed or contact?
In the process of talking to Ed, got a whole file from Jenna. I'd like to talk to you about some things as well. If you're available tomorrow, I'll give you a call.
Do you have
For-
his number?
I'll get it.
Okay.
For, are we looking at maybe in December then, meeting, or how far are we gonna push this out?
As soon as you get it done?
Okay, let's try December. I'll try.
Well, you know, we got 3 meetings in December. No, we're gonna go 2 because the council got to vote on it.
Yeah.
If you wanted to get it done, so,
Do my best.
yeah. Okay. Okay then,
Just gonna hold it.
he'll be contacted. We're just gonna hold them and just get a clarification, so everybody's squared away on it.
thank you.
Okay?
Thanks for coming in.
Just gonna stick around.
This Sarah's not coming up here, you got a note?
Correct. She
Oh,
called.
that's no?
Mhm.
So that's the first one, though, right?
Yes, that's her first.
Okay. So hold that one too, just cruising along here. Justin, Paul Troy Meyer. Okay, new application.
Sir.
You're gonna be at Walker End.
Yes, sir.
Okay, no, you read the thing about being ticketed, anything, you put down yes, and you put down an OWI.
Yes. That's 21.
The only problem is we have a whole list of other things here.
From when I was an adult.
Pardon me?
From when I was an adult.
Well, the questionnaire says, have you ever been arrested, ticketed, ticketed, arrested, convicted or fine of any violation. And you put down 1, and it didn't say, you know, as an adult or as a, because we got a lot of disturbing things here.
I definitely would have said something about all of these, but when I had initially asked, I said, how far do I have to go back to? And they said, just from when you basically from when you were an adult on. So,
Who said that?
I don't exactly remember when I filled out the application at the front desk, a lady gave it to me.
Mr. Chair.
Oh,
Yeah, and to address your concern though, and what you're saying is, well,
And I couldn't remember how far back these really went.
you've got 2 disorderly conducts, one of them being resisting an officer, and 2014 obstructing an officer, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Those are all as an adult.
Notice I couldn't remember if I was 16, 17, because it was right around that time span. I was 17, just about 18ish in 2009, 'cause that's when I graduated high school.
This is 2012.
So yeah, and
How old were you in 2012?
2012, probably like in my 20s. I just, like I said, I don't remember a lot of these because
21 years old.
A lot of these, yes, convicted. It says obviously convicted on there, but I don't know. I didn't know exactly what it 100% meant. Like, I didn't know how severe. I had to go into details of.
What were the circumstances of your 2 disorderly conduct tickets? In the first one in 2012.
I'm pretty sure that was just
Second
an
in
I'm pretty sure
2013.
that was just an altercation that I got into. It wasn't like a fight. It was just like a verbal argument that I was getting into with somebody, and then the cops ended up showing up, and I ended up getting a disorderly conduct ticket.
How about the second one?
I think they were both the same. I think one was between me and my kid's mother. We were just yelling at the house, and the cops showed up, and we were yelling at each other, and then nothing really happened. I got convicted for the disorderly conduct because it was my mom's house, so I kind of had no choice apparently. And that was about it. It was really just argument. There was no like physical altercations with the disorderly conducts.
In 2014, when you were convicted of obstructing an officer, how was it that you were obstructing an officer?
Because he said that I didn't tell him that I had any paraphernalia on me, and it wasn't even technically on me. It was in the car that I was in, and it just so happened to be next to my seat. So he just gave me the paraphernalia ticket, and I wasn't gonna fight it and argue it, because all I was gonna do was make it worse for me with the outcome.
You answered a different question. I was asking about the obstructing an officer. Honestly,
Yeah,
I'm more
I
concerned
understand.
about obstructing an officer. If we have bartenders in our city, our bartenders need to work with the police.
Right, absolutely.
Need to cooperate at all times. Need to call the police when there's an issue. What happened regarding the obstructing an officer?
That's what I'm saying. He said that I didn't tell him, and that I was lying and hiding stuff from him because he asked me, is there anything in the car that I should know about? And I said no, because it wasn't my car, because I was in the passenger seat. And I got arrested, and he said, I'm going to hold you while I search the car. And then he came back and said there was paraphernalia in the car. I think it was me and actually one other person that got the same exact ticket as well, too.
I may be able to get those police reports if anybody wants.
Yeah, that would definitely help, too, if you know.
Yeah, that doesn't sound what you're describing. Sounds something
Well,
different.
that's the only thing I can think of. I mean, I don't see it. I don't know the way I was obstructing an officer that I can recall, at least. If there's any other questions about it, I mean, I'll be more than happy to answer them. I have nothing to hide, that's for sure.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So on your application, again, it says ever been ticketed, arrested, convicted, or fined for any violation, and you put down OWI South Milwaukee 2010. That's all you put down.
Yeah, well, like I said, I had asked the lady.
well, okay.
I had asked the lady how far back, and she had said as
So-
an adult, and I couldn't remember all my charges.
And
at the
how
time.
old were you in 2013?
Yeah, the same thing I told him in my 20s, and
Okay.
I couldn't remember
And-
exactly.
And I see a
petty
prohibited
disorderly
alcohol content in Greenfield.
That counts as an OWI.
That's so that's essentially 2 OW.
I've never.
just one.
I only have one. That I can promise you on everything. I only have one OWI.
Well, so you had one in 2010.
Yeah, I was 21 years
In
old.
South
basically, first
Milwaukee.
21. I've never got caught with prohibited alcohol. That wasn't an OWI. The prohibited alcohol content
Oh, I'm-
must be something else.
No, it's not prohibited alcohol
Greenfield, okay, nothing in South Milwaukee.
No, but on his application, he put South
Well,
Milwaukee.
because that's where I was detained at. It's where they detained me.
Oh, so
they
you got
must have
arrested in.
Yeah, I got caught in
I
South
still
Milwaukee,
understand the
so they
year
must have
difference.
put it in
It's a
Greenfield.
3-year difference between what you wrote down.
I was 21 years old when I got my OWI. That I know
Yeah.
for.
And so what year was that?
I'm 26 now, so that was 5 years ago.
Okay, because you put down 2010.
Like I said, I might have got the date
Yeah.
obviously mixed up, but I mean, I have all the paperwork at home, obviously, for it somewhere. I couldn't find the OWI one. That was obviously 5 years ago.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna move for denial based on an incomplete application.
Second.
Okay, hang on. A motion and denial. Is there any further?
I would just add, I think we should do it also based on the record.
That's what I was gonna say as well, is that if there's relation to whatever being applied for, we have the OWI, the potential drug contacts and the 2 resistings that would all be substantially related to licensed activity, or could be.
Okay, do I need to amend my motion?
I'll accept the friendly amendment.
Okay,
I'll second the friendly amendment.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on this?
Well, if I can get a hold of the officers or anything that had anything to do with this, and find a way to contact them and talk to them to figure out exactly what happened, would that ease anything for another trial or something? Of these?
Well, it's because of the extensive record that you have.
Well, I
You know,
understand.
okay, maybe there was a mistake in not writing it down, but, you know, we give you this license and there's a lot of responsibilities that come
Yeah,
with it. And
absolutely.
you haven't been very responsible, I hate to say it, but, you know.
I was
you've
young,
been at
making
it for years,
mistakes, I'm
so-
trying to better my life right now, that's all I'm trying to do. I'm working 3 jobs right now, I'm doing the best I can, sir.
You're still young, and, but, you know, these aren't that long ago, and that's the part that mainly concerns us. I mean, we get people in here that had 15, 20 years ago, that's a little different. You know, yours is, 5 years ago.
I was just say we're going on 4 or 5 years ago.
So, it's not a long time, so.
The 2012 was a resisting as opposed to an obstructing. Obstructing is usually lying to officers. Resisting is physical force. The officers relayed that he wasn't following commands. They had to take him to the ground. And it was a resisting charge as opposed to obstructing in 2012.
Okay, is there any further discussion? The motion was to deny. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Have this back?
Sorry?
Thank you.
Nathan, is that him? Nathan? No Nathan here? Okay, we're gonna hold on too. First time? That is the first time, right? Christopher,
Fife Eric.
say that again?
Fife Eric.
Yeah, that's what we want.
Yeah, I saw those 2 F's in there. Okay. Okay, we have a new application.
Mr. Chair?
Where-
You were
Right.
called in because you have an OWI.
Correct.
Okay, and not that long ago, and it shows that, you know, at least on that occasion, that you made a very bad choice for yourself.
Correct.
And there's gonna be a time when we're gonna be asking you and expecting you to make choices for your customers about them drinking. This isn't about you drinking at work. I'm
Yeah, I
assuming
understand.
that you're gonna work at a place where you can't get schnockered at
Correct.
work. You know,
Correct.
That's a regular assumption. I
Correct.
live with. But we wanna make sure that you understand how important it is to us that you make the right decision for your customers.
Yeah, and that's something I've learned. It's an honest mistake, and not honest mistake, but it's clearly a mistake I made. I mean, I'm learning from that mistake. I put myself on hold. I mean, that itself ruined part of my plans for like 2 years. I mean, just the money alone. I was able to just buy a house in September. I wanted to buy a house 2 years ago. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a mistake. I learned from it, and yeah, I definitely understand when customers are drinking, not to overserve, not to let them drive. I mean, where I currently work right now, I've called Ubers for customers. I've called cabs for customers. I mean, I take it seriously. I mean, that's not something. It was a poor choice I made for myself. I wouldn't. That's not my duty to make that choice for others to let them drive. I mean, I think that's something every bartender obviously should be aware of, and make those calls for people when they're impaired and can't make them for themselves.
So you're bartending somewhere now besides the bowling alley?
Well, I mean, I work for Milwaukee County. I've bartended there. Not something I do anymore.
Okay.
Also, there'll be an occasion where something bad will happen.
Yep.
If you think you should call 911, call.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there where I've called the cops on something. I mean, I filled out a police report with them. I was summoned to appear in court. They ended up making a plea deal that day. I mean, so yeah, I've called 911. I've called the cops before for an incident.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on this item?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now, it's our next council meeting, which is the next week.
December 5th.
So you really don't have the license
You
till
don't have the
after
license
5th.
yet till you have the license in your hand. It'll be voted on, likely approved on next week Tuesday, and it'll be available for pickup Wednesday, have it from late morning till like mid-afternoon in the clerk's office. If you don't pick it up that first day, it'll be mailed to you.
So December 5th or something.
Yeah,
like that.
December 5th is the
First
Tuesday.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Michael Wolski. Okay, we have another bartender. Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Hold on, Waggle.
So you heard what we explained to the guy ahead of you, you know, about, I'm looking at your record here, and 12 years ago, you have an OWI, right? And, you know, that shows that at least on that occasion, you screwed up for yourself pretty good. Have you been bartending? You bartend
8
currently?
years.
8 years?
Yeah, I just moved I was in Milwaukee for the same family, just
Yeah.
the nephew's opening up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then of course, I'm looking here, I see 15, 16 years ago, there's a THC thing there. You done with that,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
married kids, it's all.
all behind you now.
Yeah.
Okay, and you heard what we said about we expect to be a partner. You see something wrong, you call the police, call 911. And when they show up, you're gonna be helpful. You're gonna say, this is what I know, this is the guy that did it. Doesn't matter if he's a regular customer or whatever.
Yeah, we've been through that before. So
Okay, do I have a motion?
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Orlin is not coming?
Correct.
First time?
Yes.
Yeah. This time. Marcia? Okay. So did you lease it out yet?
No.
No, I'm just kidding. The reason we're calling you back in is that, you know, when you came in and you applied for the license and everything, we didn't do a background check, and then we did a background check and see that you had 3 OWIs. Now, if you were a bartender, you come in for a bartender license, we wouldn't approve you. You know, now, it is a little bit different being an owner, but it does give us thought, you know, as far as the license goes. You said nothing has changed since the last time you were here?
What do you mean nothing's changed?
As far as your
Oh,
intentions and doing
no,
things.
I'm working with an attorney, John Affleck. I told him I'm gonna open this up as a wedding center for banquets, and he's handling a bunch of my stuff. I had to have some surgery, and I had to recuperate from that, but as far as like the building, as far as I know, the beer cooler had to be, the floor was like rusting and peeling, so I
Right.
knew it wouldn't pass like the health department thing. That's been all like enameled now. And as far as I know, looking through the place, I have to refill the fire extinguishers because they have just
Right.
expired. So
That's every year here.
well, yeah, I know they were filled and that, and then I realized that the guy didn't do it. So those have to be done. I mean, he's not going to pass me without those full, right?
So it's, well, the fire inspector wouldn't, but,
Right.
so as far as, so you're going to be running this, the wedding center?
Yeah, I feel that I was excited because I'm like, people will book weddings. It's a small place. You bring them in, they have their event. It can be like catered, or if, depending on what they want for meals, there is a kitchen that would be licensed. So that's what I would do. I don't want to make it a bar with, you know, there's no pool table. That thing gets hauled out. It's not going to be a sports bar. It's not going to be a biker bar. You know, it's not going to be like a tavern. It's a really, really pretty building. And I bought a bunch of like antique kind of credenzas and things with marble tops that I got that are vintage to make it match the heritage of the building. I'm sure you know what the building looks like, right? Yeah. So, and I think I mentioned I went down to the West Allis Historical Society and tried to get like the history of the building, trying to get photos so I can blow up and put in there. I think it could be an asset. You know, the patio's not gonna be like a beer garden. It would only be used for overflow if there's a wedding, like people like to step outside and sit at tables and things. It's not,
You need a special permit for that, don't you?
yeah, I already talked to
Oh,
them
okay.
about the outdoor thing. So it's, like I said, this isn't gonna be like a tavern. It's gonna be a special event kind of place.
Okay, so are you going to hire the people, you're gonna hire another bartender during the events or something, or are you running everything yourself, or how's it?
I would probably have to get a bartender because what, like, I do, I cook, you know, so I would probably oversee the kitchen, keep an eye on the bartender. It's not like a huge place. You can
Right.
literally see things.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be able to make drinks and then run back and make the shrimp plate and then go back and forth.
Right.
So for an event, yeah, there would have to be auxiliary staff that would have to be there. Yeah, there's, like I said, there's only 10 stools on the bar. And then there's like a big back room. I've already bought like the tables and the chairs and everything, and a long, something almost like this, like, well, it's not quite this big, like for a wedding thing. I know the bathrooms are up to code. There's plenty of parking. And it wouldn't be, and like I said, there's a good rapport with the neighbor too. I can't see it being a noise nuisance, you know, because of its location. You know, I mean,
It's
it
on a
is,
busy street.
it's on a busy street.
You have some neighbors right there who are close and everything, but you know, you gotta be careful about over-serving people, you know, especially in a case like that, underage people, you know, you gotta watch for all that too. And so when we see the 3 OWIs, I think, you know, I realized the last one was 12 years ago.
Well, the first
Yeah,
one I
so-
wasn't even driving,
Mhm.
so I mean, it wasn't like I got pulled over or anything. I went to the police department because I was being harassed and by a gut man, and they said, "Did you drive here?" And I said, "Well, yeah," you know. And then they hit me with that. I mean, it wasn't like I was speeding or in a car accident or anything. But anyways, that was a number of years ago. I mean, I'm 60 years old now. I mean, I don't even go out. I mean, and you know, with the employment I've had in the past years, I mean, we don't. It's not like the old days. Nobody drinks behind the bar nowadays. It just
Some
doesn't.
places they do,
Oh,
yeah.
Well, maybe the taverns with bar dice, but that's not gonna be the kind of place I have.
Right.
There's not gonna be bar dice, there's not gonna be pool, there's not gonna be pitchers of beer, it's not gonna be that kind of place. It's not gonna be a kid's place, it's not gonna be a sports bar. I mean, I don't have the energy for that kind of thing.
Now, didn't we okay this subject to necessary requirements already?
Yes. And then we got the record check back.
Which is a necessary requirement.
Right. So, okay, I'm relatively comfortable. Nick, you had some?
If the committee is leaning this way, or if we want to treat these similar to bartenders' licenses, 3 OWIs would be grounds, or could be grounds for us to deny. Under 125, I've written down as 125.04, 3, sub 3, sub A, sub 1. The committee makes the decisions. I'm just informing you that it'd be justified
That there's
or
nothing.
justifiable.
Alderman White?
Mr. Chair, if I could, I tend to give a property owner, a business owner, the benefit of the doubt. They have a lot more skin in the game, shall we say, to not put their business at risk. Also, this applicant's description of her business plan is certainly not one that would lend itself to the kinds of things that we're worried about
Right.
the over-service. I've taken into consideration the time involved, and I would be willing to move approval on this. But I do wanna mention one thing about the outside premises. I know weddings don't go as late as they used to, but we usually limit outside premises I think typically midnight is the
Oh,
latest.
yeah.
And sometimes when they're adjacent, and have we had this discussion on this property? No, because, and typically when they're adjacent to residential, we go 10 PM. So it could,
Okay.
I just wanted you to be aware of that while we're here talking about it. So we've approved, but we didn't approve the outside premises, or did that carry over from the previous one?
We had touched upon it because somebody I think brought up about, was there going to be a bar outside?
Well, that's physically,
You know,
typically there would be a
Or
bar.
you're just letting,
Let
well,
people
there,
walk
they
out.
do have there is 2 rolling
There's
bars
2
in
rolling
there
bars, okay.
that can be rolled outside, you know, for like a bucket with beer or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
you know? So, and I understand there is another permit for that, but right now, I mean, that wouldn't happen until summer. That's
Yeah,
a back burner
okay.
thing. If it can't be done, I mean, then it can't be done, you know? I don't think that's a make or break on having a successful
business model.
business, of whether there's
Yeah.
a bar outside, you know?
Okay, my question is do we have to vote on this again? I don't think we already voted on this, so, but in the jacket and everything, so we just would take this one and just place this one on file?
I think that's
Because it's just,
Okay.
it says license application.
Right.
It's just a copy of what we already okayed.
Correct.
Okay, so a motion to place this on file?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so,
One
good
more
luck.
thing.
Okay,
One
I
more
just
thing.
wanna,
We have a later agenda item about how long we let somebody have a license and not be open.
I saw that on there.
So when, okay, you're approved,
60 days.
you
I
have, yeah,
have to be open, and I can do that.
okay.
Because like I said, I don't know if you want the attorney's name, I'm
No, we
working with
don't
an
care.
attorney now.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so yeah, I
I
do
don't care.
understand about the 60 days, and like I said, I was
believe you.
railroaded
Yeah.
by, I was
Right.
going to lease this out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You know,
we understand that.
we understand that,
So-
but you've decided to not lease it out and you're gonna start booking.
Yeah,
guests.
well, like I said, I had to take care of my mother, she just died September 10th, in hospice, and I didn't have the time to run a business, that's why I was gonna lease it. And then now she's dead, and I don't have the time too, so you don't know how things change so abruptly. I do have one thing, right here, this thing
Well,
about
we
the
have-
one tab
Okay,
Yes,
LLC.
I will correct
So that's a
that.
corrected, because it's for a legal thing.
okay,
My-
but we have a motion and a second, we gotta act on
I'm
that.
sorry.
That discussion isn't, you can do it, so, we have a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, now your question.
Oh, I just wanna make it clear that, this is a typo, One Tab LLC, just in case there is a business called One Tab. My
Open
business,
Tab.
Open Tab LLC, and it down here says affidavit publication. I don't want my records to get
You know what?
mixed in with somebody else's, especially on a
Take
legal
care.
matter, you know, so.
That's just the agenda here.
Oh, I just wanna make,
Right.
you know, make sure everything's covered, not have it come back to bite me 3 years from now and
Yeah.
find out somebody else.
One tab?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Before, if we're gonna move into 16, just as a note, number 10, for Nathan Zetting, he didn't show up, but if he does show up in the future, for whatever reason, I'm not here, or it's during common council, he's on probation until 2018. One of the terms of that probation is that he has to have absolute sobriety and can't possess alcohol. So,
Is bartending possessing?
yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna guess it is.
yeah.
You wanna make a note of
It's in
that?
your
I
hand when
know
you're pouring the
that.
drink.
I will put it on the jacket
Yeah.
with a bright pink post-it.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
All in
would that be grounds to deny tonight even? I mean, there's no way.
Any way he could
I
bartend
can't
without
see
possessing.
granting it to him. Yeah.
I would agree, but I don't know. I mean, we might have to give him the due process of allowing him to come in and hearing it for himself and
Okay.
explaining himself if he needs that.
Okay, it's, okay, you can just wait.
But to deny, I mean, 2 no-shows, we deny for that reason.
Yeah,
and
that,
everything
but
else
in
it
our
is, so.
agenda, it's in one tab.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
Open tab is the name of it. For LLCs,
Okay.
open tab.
Thank you, we'll just hold it, give him the benefit of the doubt, so he didn't think that would be unfair anyway. Sally, do you have anything
I
else?
don't wanna hear him explain it.
Just really bored at home or what?
Yeah, right.
We like hanging out with you, Sally.
But, no, I didn't, just asking, I thought maybe you didn't have anything, but, okay, so discussion on the Class B, we discussed this before. Nick has given us some recommendations, some,
So beyond that email, I could also, I mean, we could update the code and make it a little more onerous on the requirements for being open or how often they're open. That would be an option. And I guess,
so,
Could you have him walk?
go ahead.
okay. Excuse me, kinda go through what is the ordinance right now?
So the ordinance right now says they have to be in operation at least every 30 days. I'm paraphrasing it,
Right.
something along those lines. And so potentially we could have somebody game the system and just open up for a weekend or sell a beer or do something along those lines. If we do update the code, what we could require, well, we wouldn't necessarily need to update the code for this part, but what I could put into our policy is that as the policy reads right now, people have 60 days to get up and running. They're going to be approved subject to necessary conditions, which is operating, getting everything
Just
done.
want to interrupt you a second.
Yeah,
You said according to our policy now. Is it a policy or is it an ordinance?
the policy. The ordinance is operate every 30 days.
Right, and that's it.
That's it.
Okay.
And so the way that's been interpreted in the past, as far as I can tell with the policy, is that we give them the initial 60 days to get operating. It's a little more, it's double the 30 days, but it's saying you got 60 days to get operating. After that 60 days, if you're not operating, we can revoke you because you're not operating subject to the necessary conditions we said. Or we bring them back in and we can extend it 30 more days. You can. After that 30 days, they can petition us for another, or you for another 90 days, which would have to go to the Common Council. So they can have an opportunity to get 6 months if they want. Each time, after 60 days, after another 30 days, after another 90 days, the committee would have the ability to revoke at that point.
7 months.
No,
60
60, 30, and then another 90.
Once you add to the hearing.
Yeah.
90 and 90,
I thought there was 230s.
Mr. Chair.
That's 180,
yeah.
6 months.
So, how does this work with a brand new development? Somebody comes in and wants to open up a, whatever.
Say somebody wants to open a sports bar that needs to be open by Packer season.
What's brand new construction?
I know.
No, brand new construction.
Okay.
They're not gonna open up unless they have a license.
We all got it.
And we're up against the quota.
Right.
We're not currently up, I mean, we're 7 below or something right now. But, I mean, you can't build a building in 60 days.
Agreed. So either it gets held or, I mean, I'm not their attorney, but I would advise somebody from applying at that point in time. I guess they want to try to hold on to one because they want to put it in place. If they want to apply, we can grant it subject to, I mean, there's ways to potentially game it and say, hey.
I don't mean game it. I just want to give a developer an assurance that even though we're 7 under quota right now, and we assure him or them that yes, there will be a license when you need it, when you open in 18 months, because I don't know how long does it take to build a building. It's got to be 18 months, right, from start to finish.
Skyscraper.
A year.
Depends on what it
I
is.
mean, I guess the policy question is there, do we want to insure or give somebody that, yeah, in 18 months you can have
Well,
a
and
license?
clearly,
I mean,
this is agendaed as people who don't have an intent to open. I mean, I think that's what we're trying to get around here. It's hard to read someone's intent, though, because as we've had applicants in the past who say, well, you know, and he made progress. I mean, over time.
And I agree, and that's why I think it's impossible to judge intent. Whereas we
Yeah.
could say for those who apply and say, "Yep, we grant you subject to." In those circumstances, if we want to say, in the ones where you're talking about, they're building a building now, 18 months.
Well, we can
I guess
make it
that's
a
up to
year.
you. Whatever you want to do to hold it in committee for a while, but you're going to be holding onto a license. If at the point we approve them, maybe we don't approve them right away, we hold on to it for a while, but if at the point we approve them, I guess it'd be my advice that we treat everyone the same at that point.
Yeah, I just don't want to make it 6 months. I think that's too short.
Well, yeah, I don't think-
We could conceivably also have a historic property that we want to rehabilitate, and maybe there's historic tax credits that are a problem with it, and that makes it kind
Yeah,
of a
can
mess.
Get hung up in all of
Yeah.
that
So if I rewrite the policy, I could add in, I mean, if it goes a 60 days and then we can extend it out another 90 days after that by this body, and then anything after that can only be extended with exigent or extenuating circumstances where this is a huge development going in, you've already applied, the substantial work being done, and we can make a record of that.
All in me?
I thought it was already in our ordinance that 30 days or a time period agreed upon with the council. So hypothetically, in that case, we could
A new development, we could say, you guys got
you could say
12 months, come
right.
back.
But and when we do that, we have to state the reasons. So when the next person comes in and goes, "Well, I want to open up this bar," and
Yeah,
it's
man,
taking
they'll
me
do
to
12
we could
months.
say,
Yeah.
"Well, you're not opening a new development. You've got an existing building. Everything is there. There's no reason to give you that." I think we just need to start listing out our reasons in the record.
And
But
12
doesn't
months
the
is gonna be a
ordinance give
new-
us that authority?
That I don't recall. I was gonna look at it right now, but I mean, 12
would
months
be
they're gonna be
sort of
looking at a new license. Say we approve it the summer of 17.
Yeah, but still, if we're up at quota,
Right.
at least having that license, you know, somebody with a multi-million-dollar development doesn't mind the annual license
Mr.
fee, he's
Chair?
gotta pay it twice before he opens.
Couldn't you have it starting from time of building application for building permits? Start the clock running from there too, to show their intent.
Then we're
I
gonna
don't
get-
wanna start reading
I
intent.
applied it, but they never showed up, or they never told me. We're gonna get into that, and I don't wanna get into
Well, then I
that.
had a baby
Um,
too.
Good ways to.
I think what we're trying to do is avoid another shaky,
Yeah,
for sure, let's
yeah.
be
Well,
honest.
You know, as far as the new construction goes, you know, they wanna get the license, so make sure that they would have it.
Mm-hmm.
Not that all of a sudden they come back and we're over quota, and now they gotta worry about, you know, the council voting over quota,
Yeah.
you know, so I would think that they would want that before they even start the development. They'd want that
That's gonna come
they
very
want that
early in the
guarantee.
process, yeah.
You know, and so is there something in the ordinance, or you just didn't find it yet?
Haven't found it yet.
Okay, if there's something in the ordinance, you know, that allows us it, then we can okay it and give them that time then, that'd be, because each development then, we could, you know, do differently if we wanted to.
And Mr. Chair,
All I
I think in cases like that, you could say within 12 months, as long as a development plan is submitted within the next 3 months, construction starts. I mean, you can add stipulations to these things.
On an individual basis.
On an
you're talking,
individual
not-
basis.
Yeah.
And again, I think that the idea is that the next person who wants to build, you at least have to give them the same the same courtesy. But if there's an existing business and I want to sell the place in a few months, I haven't found a tenant yet. Well, that's too bad.
Okay, let's stay,
Right.
can we stay on the new development, new
Oh,
building?
the new?
some-
Okay.
Can we stay on that for a minute? Does that, if that's in the ordinance, does that sound okay? Or if it's not in the ordinance, should we put that in the policy? Should that be in the policy that, well, when they come and apply for the license and, you know, we tell them, okay, we got a year or so, you know, whatever.
I can add whatever, or try to add whatever you want and make sure it's legal. Off the top of my head, I don't know how that would work, but whatever you
What
want
do
me
you
to
mean
do,
you
I
don't
can
know
do it.
What do you mean you don't know how it would work?
I don't know. I can't find in the code where it talks about the 30 days or extending that out. I don't know. I would want to comb through chapter 125 and make sure there's not going to be some issue for us holding onto a license.
For a building that doesn't exist?
They might not even have an address.
Right.
yet.
I mean, if there's not a premises and they're not going to be able to describe the premises, or
Yeah.
I mean, essentially we're okaying them to have an establishment where there's no establishment, or there's no, like, you just go out there to the open field. And that's where my concern is that suddenly we're approving
But-
something.
But if there's a development and they're signing a contract, wouldn't there be an address?
Yeah.
Or
But there's no premises, there's no walls yet.
Right. It's not
Yeah.
going to be enclosed. It's not going to be anything. And so what I'm saying is, this is a new one. We didn't talk about
Right.
this before, and I
we
didn't
did.
contemplate it. So I don't know off the top of my head. I don't want to give you bad advice.
Other cities must
I
have
think-
this solved.
I think
Well,
there's a way around that.
Mhm.
They're not getting the license yet. We're holding it for them. We control the quota
Okay.
on the Class B,
Right.
right? So we should be able to hold it for them.
Well, it's issued
As
but
part
not
of-
granted, or granted but
Well,
not issued, or whatever.
Right. So they don't technically have the license until they follow through.
Yeah.
Subject
Right.
to
It's
necessary
subject to-
requirements.
Okay.
If-
I.e.
if it's legal,
Build a building.
if it's legal on a state level,
Right.
I mean, there's not a state law. that
Yeah,
says you can't do
125 is
that.
the state law, state statute.
Yep.
Okay, so
Chapter
you're gonna check
125.
that to make sure we're covered.
Yes.
Okay, then go back with the other one now, with the existing building and like we've been running into. Do we wanna give 6 months? Do we figure 6 months is a fair time, or do you wanna give less time? Or, because of the way it's set up, we can cut it off at any time. We don't have to, we're saying 6 months maximum. And, but what criteria do we?
6 months after you're closed. Okay, you have a business you've been operating, then you decide you want to sell it, and you're just physically, you're not open for business, but you still have the license.
So on the agenda item more specifically, so What I was asking to look into is those places who want to just hold on to it,
Right.
try to find somebody to rent it out.
While you're holding, yeah.
And so, if we want to rewrite the policy to say in time frame, whatever the committee wants, 60 days, 90 days, whatever that time frame is, they come back and show us receipts, show us the fact that they have a wholesaler and they have contracts coming in, that they're making this progress and they're doing something great. That shows us they're open. Or we require that if that every Class B that we approve comes back in 90 days, you don't have any of those receipts, okay, why don't you have them? Either move to revoke at that point, or this body elects to extend it another 30 days or 90 days or whatever we want. If they don't have it again, then that 6 months is up. I mean, we can make the time frame whatever you want, so long as we're consistent, and then there are some checks and balances, and we're
But we would
not
start
just
out,
letting these go on for 2 years
yeah, we would start out with 60 days.
or whatever time. I can rewrite that.
Right. No, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, that 60 days is fine with that.
Yeah.
You know, and then we can give another 30, well, or we can give it whatever we want.
Wait, how about you give them 60 days, you give them another 60 days, and then you give them a final 60 days, which is 6 months.
Mhm.
If we feel that they're seriously trying.
Right. If they can provide information, good faith efforts, I'm having these inspections, this has been delivered, I thought this guy was going to do the work, this is where I'm at. If somebody just comes in and says, yeah, on 60 days, I was doing this work, hopefully Packer sees in another 60 days, hey, that seems like the same excuse. Maybe
This guy's gonna be a legend here. you
maybe
know?
deny right now. Or after the third 60 days, we've heard the same excuse 3 times, we can't go beyond the 60 days, you probably should have thought about this before you applied for your license. I mean,
Right.
if we want to, and then if we have already approved it, after that 6 months, we'd have to move for a vacation, and whoever that owner is going to be prohibited from applying or obtaining a new license for a year. And so, I mean, that's going to be part of the use your head when you're applying, because if you're not actually in good faith in the next 6 months going to get anything done, then you probably shouldn't apply right away.
And that's something we
Which
should
would
be
open up another
made
series
clear.
of Class Bs potentially for any of these new developments that we want to, I mean, so no one's just sitting on these.
Yeah. I don't know that anybody is not operating right now.
I mean, I think we just,
And you know, there's a couple,
approved
is there a
two.
couple that are just sitting, being unused?
Well,
we had one in today and we had one in the last time.
6404 National,
Painted Parrot.
Painted Parrot, the old TNT,
Well, Pantera, there's an application in for today.
today, yeah.
Yeah.
Application
But,
for
I
what?
mean, it's been,
New owner?
Yeah, new owner, yeah.
it's been empty.
Yeah, it's, yeah, and TNT is not open?
The old TNT on 6404 National,
National, they're not open?
I don't believe so.
no,
I mean, conceivably the other option is,
the owner came and got the license,
Oh, that's right.
right? But she was trying to lease it out. Someone
Yeah.
did call me and asked me. They called me up and like to give them assurances. He had one OWI, and if he's gonna have a problem buying, and it's like, first of all, I can just speak for myself, you know. But I'm trying to hedge it. But nothing ever came of it. We still don't have it open.
So I brought up the ordinance here. It says whenever any license under this section shall not.
what are you looking at just so I can find it too? Sorry.
It's oh jeez. Let me read it first, and then
Okay.
I'll lose it. Whenever any license under this section shall not, a licensee under this section shall not conduct his licensed business at the authorized location for a period of 30 consecutive days, the license shall become subject to revocation unless such 30-day period shall, for good cause shown, be extended by the council.
Good cause.
So
That's harsh.
30 days, but well, that's almost.
Yeah.
It's
It
basically
almost
the
becomes an
policy.
issue of defining good cause,
Mhm.
Yeah.
more so than because we're already operating within what we want. It's. I'll read backward the letters backwards.
I got
You
it. 9029C.
Perfect.
And the other thing, you know, we talk about 30 days is not, I don't know, okay, I've been in business in West Dallas 37 years. I don't know anyone who ever opened up once a month just to keep the license, just to satisfy our code. I don't think it's ever happened.
I think they could game the system, but it's going to be just a waste of their time.
But the point is, for them to open, everything still has to be up to code. The fire extinguishers have to be inspected, the bills have to be paid, you know, all that stuff.
Otherwise, that's grounds to revoke because they haven't done
yeah.
it. I mean,
Yeah, they still have to all be up to code. You know, yeah, if you can get by making it one day a month, it must be all. But well, there was a movie, Holiday Inn. Remember, That's a classic movie. They're only open on holidays. That's more than one a month, though, I think.
I was gonna say,
The
National Chocolate Day.
the other thing about if we do the 60-60-60 and then move or revoke or anywhere along those lines, the committee would have to approve anybody that would essentially take back their application or request that we take it back, but they could also do that.
What do you mean?
Oh, so
We already
they
did
get
this.
45 days in, they realize they're not gonna.
I'm never gonna get this. I don't want to get revoked for a year here, so
Oh,
I'm
the
gonna
revocation
withdraw
for
my
a year.
application and I'll
Yeah.
apply again when I can.
Yeah.
Fair
No.
enough.
That's fine.
They don't get their money back, but we don't take it away.
Right. But at least we add some
Yeah.
teeth to the fact that you're not staying open or not opening at all, and you're just sitting on these.
And when does that get explained to them? So we're gonna have to make sure we explain this. You know what? If you get revoked, you can't even apply. You know, if you make us revoke your license or actually begin the process of revocation, right?
No, I
Well,
think
no,
we-
they
we'd have
can
to-
go all the way up until
Okay. If you make
Gavel
us
slams revoked.
if you make us revoke your license, we take it away from you. You can't even apply it for a year. So do you want to withdraw your? That's the conversation we'd have to have with them.
I mean,
they'd have to know this.
First time.
I don't want to. If I don't want to advise anybody, I don't want to commit anybody that's sitting on this side of the table. I don't want the committee to be advising them either. I could potentially make some little
Written
just so
policy or
you
something.
know. Here's the
Yeah.
policy, and we hand them the
It's handed
policy.
with every
Yeah.
Right
application.
here, this goes with the this goes with the application. You're aware that this is how we operate. If you're not up in 60 days, we will see you. If you're not up in 60 days after that, you're gonna have some explaining to do. After that, SOL.
Right.
Legal term?
Yes.
Yes.
All over me.
I think the key words in the policy or in the ordinance currently is good cause.
Yeah.
Is it good cause that, hey, I didn't call the building inspectors for months on end and you warned me and I didn't do it again? That's probably not good cause. For us, it's going to be a consistency
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
issue.
that's
right?
the committee.
That's
Right.
on us.
That's
That's on
on
us.
But I think they have to show good cause. Yeah. It can't be, oh, we feel for them and they put money into it. That's probably not a good cause, right?
As long as we're consistent.
Do we have to define good cause in a policy? Or set examples of good cause within the policy? Or is
I would
that going
rather
too
not.
far?
I can look into options. That's best I can say. I don't know if it'd be a good idea if it would tie us down. Maybe that is a good thing to get tied down,
Yeah,
or maybe
could-
it's not. If
I think it's the second one. We'd rather have more breadth.
Flexibility.
Do
Right.
and hand what we want in a a particular situation.
That's why there's 5 of us and not just a machine that
Mhm.
cranks this out. You know.
If I could, the way that's worded, the council gets to make the extension, not
Yeah.
the committee.
I believe it sounds like it goes through you to approve and then goes to the council, right? But I mean,
Every extension is going to have to go back to the council?
that's why I mean we could maybe
Well,
do
just
it the first 60 days. They come back,
Yeah.
they can get one from the committee, so we're looking at 4 months, and then after that, then second 60 days might be a council, so they can see that this is getting more and more serious as this
And
goes
then-
on.
And then if anybody else in the council has any questions or anything about
Right.
it, they can give their point of view also. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Because it does make it more serious,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and then we're serious.
Now, what do other communities do?
And that'd be, I mean, I don't know that question. One of my suggestions could be that we make the class, the operation more onerous, and I can look in other communities with that. I can look.
You can,
What I was looking at right now is our current policy and how to make that actually function. And I think we should rewrite it, or we could rewrite it, and I would be happy to do that. And actually just apply it and make sure that people are aware of it.
So, can I ask another question?
go ahead.
Is I want to sell the place and I haven't found a seller yet, or a buyer yet, good cause?
And that's the excuse they're already getting. I mean,
Well, in a
Well,
down
that's a
market,
question for
you
us,
know, we
right?
could be in a down market, and you know we've lived through a down market right now. I know there's a lot of people. Their retirement, their idea of retirement is their saloon.
Mhm.
You know, and is that a good plan? No,
Mhm, right.
but that person could, if they need to, like weather a down market in real estate, open up
Open ones every 30
one day every month for 3 years or whatever until it comes back. I don't know.
Well, but if you look at the example, the one case we just had here, where the building She was trying to sell the building for almost $100,000 more than the city has it assessed for. And it just, so it wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know, and so,
I mean, that might be information that we take in consideration. It also, I mean, I think there's a difference between feeling sympathetic and kind of looking at it from the city's perspective in terms of you're not going to operate. This is not, we don't have an infinite amount of these Class B licenses. If you're not going to operate, what's our role? And
the whole reason for even bringing this up again is consistency.
Yeah.
That we do the same thing all the time, and so, you know, I don't want to tie us down 100%. So, you know, a case comes in and we can't move at all, but I want to tighten it up so it's harder for us to do anything. I like going to the rest of the council because it brings it up, makes it even a bigger issue. But is everybody comfortable with this?
Yeah.
And so you're just going to look up a few more issues and
I could send you a new draft. I'll make a new draft policy and I'll look at how to ensure new developments can have some assurance. I don't know how else to put it, but
Right.
I'll look into options with that and I'll send out, now that I have a little bit more direct marching orders,
Yeah, get it?
something concrete.
Okay.
Could something be done where there is a certain amount that is allowed to be reserved, or is that more than you would need?
I thought you can.
I can try.
And the reason I keep asking these questions of good cause is because there's no one sitting here in front of us right now, so it's not
Right.
it's not like we're doing it to get at anybody.
No.
But I do often wonder, is the reason that I want to sell my place a good reason? And I don't think it should be
Why
a
would,
monetary
first of all, why wouldn't you
value
keep
to
your
the
place
license.
open
I
while you're trying
agree.
to sell it?
I agree.
Because at least then you're bringing in some money.
And that's what I was talking about. I mean, sympathy aside, the city's likely more interested in having these to give away or having you in business. I mean, if you wanted to sit on it,
What good's a vacant building?
right?
Yeah.
Let's look at the cases. You know, as far as the lady who's here tonight, they never opened. They got the license, but they just never opened. So that's why she was sitting on it. And then you look at the painted parent, it was leased out, and the person, or maybe it might even be sold.
It was sold.
But he ended up back with it, so he doesn't want to open it up. So
And then there was another interested party that had a financing approved from the city, financial aid. He backed out of it too.
And those might be examples of
That'd be
good
good cause.
Okay, I
They had it
had
sold
a
and it
buyer,
backed out the
everything
last
was-
minute.
Right,
Yeah.
and now we're sitting at 60 days, and I
Yeah.
thought we were all good. And I
That would be good cause.
right.
Yeah, it'd be good cause.
But I have no plan. I don't have a broker yet. Vacant buildings aren't any good, and they get run down,
Right.
and
And you don't
ends
have
up
money
being
to
a blighting influence.
Well, you know, the broker thing I've seen, there are brokers that specialize in licensed premises,
Yeah.
and there are ones that don't. And the ones that don't, I mean, I don't think just having it listed with a broker,
Is enough.
yeah.
And maybe
Because-
that's going to be enough for our first 60 days or the first. I mean, you don't have anything done. We'll see you in 60 days, and we'll see how you're doing. 60 days passes.
Suddenly it's a new broker.
We have a broker. Okay, that's you're not getting too far. We're gonna
That doesn't cost you anything.
right move to revoke, or
Okay.
send it to council and have a discussion there, and somebody gets a little more freaked out. I mean, however the body wants to,
Yeah.
this committee wants to do it. Just the message needs to be sent to those that are just trying to sit on these licenses for it being a commodity that we'd rather have you be in business.
Right. Okay. John, did you have anything to say on this?
We want.
I think we're okay in that we can reserve a liquor license for a company that's gonna be built, that's fine. And then once they get the building built, they come in and get their liquor license, let you know who it is, then you issue it. I think that'll work out fine.
So they have the license already, but it's just not issued until they have a building.
I think we've gotta have some way where we tell them, we'll get you a license if you spend $1 million to build that building. We don't have to issue it to them, we just have to say,
But
we will get you one, like somebody said, you can always raise the quota if you have to.
But what we're saying is that he'd have to actually come in and apply for the license, and then we okay it, subject to necessary requirements, is like having a building. So that if that does not build for a year, that whole year may go by with them not using it. you know what I'm saying? Because I don't know, we can't
It's
just,
gonna be a pretty blank application though.
Right. But procedurally, I think it'd be difficult to say we're reserving for.
well, they have a
licenses.
name.
Right.
For the Teledyne site.
Right.
We're reserving for that.
I mean, I don't know how the
No.
clerk's office would say, I mean, if we're just reserving without issuing anything, I've got concerns about how we
Yeah.
actually keep track of that, don't go over, suddenly we've approved 3 at a night, and all of a sudden, whoa, we don't have 4 to give anymore, and I just think that'd be difficult.
The thing about it is that somebody comes in, I mean, they've already got a contract with a developer that's going to build it. I mean, they're gonna be spending all this money, so they, you know, they just don't have the building done yet.
Right.
And they need that guarantee because they don't wanna build a brew pub and not have a license.
Right.
You know, and for some reason, the council doesn't wanna give them a license. So they gotta be literally guaranteed that license before they move ahead.
And I get
so,
it,
and so that's why I was saying, you know, we issue them the license. The only thing about it is that they're going to have to apply for it, so they actually have it in their name, their corporation or whatever. But we just don't issue it.
Right.
But the developer is oftentimes not the tenant either. But he could
Doesn't
just
he-
transfer that business over to the tenant.
Well, but I'm mainly talking about the tenants that
Right.
would apply for the license.
Or whoever the agent is, if there's gonna be an LLC or some company that's probably the one who's trying to build the building. I mean, I guess they don't know who's gonna move in it yet,
Yeah.
presumably.
Well,
They get built on spec like that.
But-
so,
but if you're building a building, you know, you say, okay, we want a brew pub here, and then all of a sudden a furniture store comes along, they put a furniture store in there, they don't need a license. So that's what I'm saying, until the brew pub would come along, and they would apply for it.
Mr. Chair, I think what you could do is you could stipulate that plans have, to, you know, we'll give you a 12-month period on this as long as plans are submitted in X number of months, and a shovel is in the ground within, you know, X number of months. You can, I think there's a way we can do that.
Create a very specific map.
Yes, and this is the plan. We all agree that this plan is going to happen. We've got good cause to move forward with it this way. Whereas if it was, you know, someone said, gee, I want to develop on the Teledyne site in 3 years.
And I'll need 4 liquor licenses.
Yeah, no. Just show me some planning, show me some,
A lease or something.
yeah. So I think we just have to add the stipulations as we go. Like you say, you just don't.
John?
One issue to remember is like, for example, in the Mandel project, they may have some brew pub lined up, ready to go, but it's still gonna take them 12 months to build it. But they're also gonna build the second tavern, the bistro building, without a tenant. But they've gotta be somehow comfortable that you're predisposed to give them a license for that second one as well. So you got 12 months under construction before they could even possibly get in there, much less the owner gets in and starts their own tenant improvements and then bring in the liquor and all that stuff.
See,
So it may be more than a year.
Yeah.
see, but see, I'm talking more about a business is going to move in there. Right? Whereas what you're saying is that the developer is just going on spec what he wants to come in there. And giving a license to a developer, I don't even know if we can do that.
Can't do that.
You know, just and hope he gets it, you know, but if the developer has somebody, you know, that's interested in coming in, well, that person would have to come in and apply.
I would think for the first brew pub, you'll have somebody a name.
Right.
An operator that I'm gonna move in here when it gets done. It's gonna take him 12 months to build it. Probably 15 months maybe to even get to flip the switch.
Right.
But then he's gonna build the second building while he's got his first tenant. I'll take a ride around the second building. So he's gonna build out a tavern, a restaurant. It's gonna need a liquor license. I'm not sure however you do it so that they can reasonably expect that they will get one there to spend the millions of dollars that we're gonna ask them to.
Mr. Chair. I don't know if we're talking about a specific development. If we are, we're 7 under quota, and we probably shouldn't talk in that kind of specific, I don't think. But,
No.
but I would think that there's a certain level of risk that the developer would have to take in those cases, or maybe a discussion with us ahead of time. You know, they could let us know what their plans are and give consideration then. But I don't know if we'd approve it, right? It's basically what you're saying, based on
speculation.
Well, like I said, but I don't know if we can just hand the license to a developer.
Well, come this summer, or this spring, hopefully, we'll enter into another agreement with the Mandel Group to
And I
build-
don't want to talk about. I don't think we should talk about specifics and start making decisions
I
on
mean,
this
let's
stuff.
just say they're gonna build another phase, and they're gonna build several buildings, 2 of them are gonna be taverns. How are they gonna start to build them without some indication from the city that when you get those built in 12 to 15 months, we'll be able to issue a liquor license?
That's where we started. Yeah. How do we assure them?
Well,
And how do they assure us?
Yeah.
I'd vote to go over quota. Talking
Well,
in the abstract.
It's yes, it's something like
Not
that, but,
specifics.
but that there's always a gamble there, and would they be willing to go over the gamble?
I think that they're gonna take a risk. They're gonna look to the city to see, do you really want this? And I'm gonna take some risk that you, when it comes to it, you will do whatever.
We'll
is
find a way to
necessary
make it happen.
to get the license. That's the risk that they'll probably have to take.
Or, Mr. Chair, when they come with a building plan, and they're saying, I want this to be this, and they've got a building plan laid out, before they build, come to us, because now you've got a plan, you got a time frame, and it would fall under what we were saying might be willing to do, right?
I'll go back again for the 3rd or 4th time. Can we give a license to a developer?
And
You know,
Any entity.
we
plans
give
to
any,
open it.
I mean,
LLC.
I'm looking at the legal part of it.
Yeah.
So.
I gotta look into all
The
this
guy who
stuff.
plans on not opening. I need a liquor license, but I'm never going to open. I'm going to sell it to somebody else. I don't know
Because
who
I'm
yet.
retiring.
You could put a
I think the
stipulation.
answer is no. Yeah.
Well, that's what we're talking about with a developer.
Yeah.
Now,
I think you can.
there have been cases in the past on Class A, and I don't know it's ever happened on a B, where someone had a storefront and they wanted a liquor store license, and we had our Class A quota, and we couldn't go over it. We didn't even talk about it, and they bought another business, and we allowed them to transfer their Class A license from a place that was going out of business. You know, they bought the business out, we approved the transfer, it was a different license committee at the time. And that would always be an option for developers to find, or whoever, is to buy an
Negotiate.
existing
Right, contract for that.
Business,
yeah. So that would be like their last resort, I guess. If we wouldn't go over quota, we'd still have to allow the transfer from location to location, so we could still control that. At least that's my understanding.
Yes.
That's what we did on the A.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. So that was from 92nd and Lincoln to 69th and Beecher.
Beer only.
When we grant a license application, it's either to the property owner or the person who's going to be operating it.
Correct.
The developer would be the owner.
At the time, correct.
So it would make absolute sense that we could make that agreement with that owner. And when they build it and they want to transfer to an operator, like you were saying, that's when they would do the transfer. So
They'd
I
have
think
to
it's completely plausible. I know we keep bringing it up, but I think it's perfectly plausible.
It's absolutely plausible, but where my concern is that to be an agent or a licensed premises or any of these things under Chapter 125, there's certain criteria that any applicant has to fit. So whether they are a corporation in Wisconsin or what, I mean, there's a lot of different things that would apply. And so without this
I see
being a
what you're
new
saying.
issue, I just want to make sure that, I mean, we might be able to say, yeah, this works for this company, but no, you aren't the appropriate developer. We can't
Because you don't
license
need
you.
125.
Right.
And don't we grant the license to individuals, not corporations?
We granted it. Well, corporations largely apply,
Companies
or
are people.
LLCs, but they have to have an agent, and so
Okay, that's
yeah,
the agent then.
Yeah.
So even a developer would have to have an agent.
yes,
I don't know if that's a problem.
neither do I. They'd have to come up with a way to do it, I suppose.
Well,
It's required.
again, I gotta think other communities have gotten over the hump on this.
I'll check on other communities as well.
Wauwatosa comes to mind. They're constantly up against a state-imposed quota on these things, and they
I
do
don't-
develop
I don't
all
think
the
they
time.
are.
Oh yeah, they've been fighting with the state to drop quotas altogether.
Well, they
Wauwatosa's up against their state quota and we're not. Oh, because we were grandfathered.
Right,
It existed.
we
Yeah,
got special rules.
Yeah, we're grandfathered.
I believe Wauwatosa sent out letters to all the people that have liquor licenses. Do you need a full liquor license?
They'll pay them
Live
for one of
with
their
it.
licenses.
And they're begging to get a liquor license.
Okay, so, we pretty much got an understanding,
I will,
you got
I
enough
got-
questions?
I'll do a little
Can
overtime.
we work with that, and
Yeah.
John, if you have anything to add, just get hold of Nick and we'll go from there.
Nick's got it all. He knows what the-
You're a
It's
good
all
man, Nick.
recorded.
Yep.
We're still on there, so.
Move
Okay.
to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, everybody. Nice seeing you all again.